It is the Matt Mosley Show, Rogue Media Network, and welcome back from a break. We had a nice one. I mean, it's a lot has happened since the last time we met, which I believe was like the New Year's Eve. And happy Black Monday to you guys, the NFL. It's that day. It's that day, and there'll be more to come. There'll be more announcements in the coming days. And there'll be an announcement. We'll obviously react to the Cowboys. I want to welcome everybody in, our large Twitter audience that likes to come in. We want to encourage all of you to sign up for the YouTube page. You just subscribe to Matt Mosley. That is free. Yesterday, we were doing our Doomsday podcast. That's also through Rogue Media Network, and have had a large number of you come over and check that out. Today, we told you the other day, we said goodbye to Scotty Swingler, who did a really nice job for the show and was also in part of Scotty's Pete's show, the Pete Souza show. Scotty has moved on, as we told you, and Kevin Hall joins us today and will be producing my show. And Kevin, there he is. Kevin just he's got his Indiana hat on. He's a proud alum, Indiana, and he also a Colts fan. So I don't know if you're happy, Kevin, or not, that the Colts had a horrible ending to the season. In fact, lost how many straight games, Kevin?
It was the only time in NFL history that a team has started 8-2 and failed to make the playoffs.
There's got to be a first. And
yes.
and so they were able to do that. Although I did see that they are sticking with Shane Steichen. I mean, usually if you have that big of a collapse, maybe you make a change at head coach. I think the Irsay family being in a little bit of a state of flux in the aftermath of his untimely death, and then his family and his daughters having taken over, that probably helped Steichen's cause, and the fact, of course, that have been without their starting quarterback.
If you're a brand new owner, you have a chance to set a precedent that says that we aren't going to take it. We're going to move on. But no, the daughters are deciding to stay with the head coach and with the GM, even though we've been calling on our podcast for Chris Ballard to leave since we started 3-4 years ago. So
what is the name of that podcast, in case we have some Colts fans out there?
365 Sports Indiana. You can check us out. We talk Indiana football, basketball, Pacers, Fever. I don't know if did you know that the Indianapolis has a new year ago volleyball team. So professional volleyball. So cover it all.
Yeah. We won't lead with that ever, but no. Yeah, we can certainly check on that. And then congratulations as you get to know Kevin. Kevin and I worked together on the TV show this year, KWTX, and the pregame show on the Baylor YouTube. And so we are familiar with each other. But Kevin, you are, and man, I thought, is he just bandwagoning this thing? But I understand. So you've actually been paying attention to Indiana football for how many years? When did your fandom of Indiana start? And wait, where did you grow up?
Okay, so I grew up in Indianapolis. I graduated from IU in 2011. But both my parents graduated from Purdue, grew up in Lafayette. So it was a big sacrilege that I graduated from IU in my family. But it was okay because I graduated from the IU campus in Indianapolis. So it also is a joint campus with Purdue. So it was okay. But yeah, so ever since I graduated from IU, and so I got to be there right at the beginning of the revamp of IU basketball with Christian Watford and the shot against UK and things like that. Football's been a struggle.
Yeah, I'd say.
With Randall, they've always been able to put up points, but never,
Well,
Never stopped anybody.
I would go easy on your basketball revamp. That
No,
didn't really
no.
turn into much.
It was good for a
And
little bit, but
I will need, for our purposes, I don't want to scare our audience into thinking this is going to become an Indiana. I'll need you to, especially since you live in Waco, you're gonna need to, and not that you haven't been entrenched, but more than ever, I'm gonna need you to watch Baylor basketball games, women,
yep.
men. I know you enjoy going to those.
I came this close to actually being the Baylor basketball PA guy.
You got
This
close.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I was right there.
Try to get some of those audition tapes and see how that transpired. You know, you said you graduated from Indiana in 2011 or 2014?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe it's just because your long hair and kind of the rock star countenance that you present. I sort of thought we were closer to the same age, but when you said that, I was like, dang it.
I was on what we would call the long college program.
Okay, so maybe
in and out. Yeah.
All right, maybe we're closer in age than I had thought, but we won't air that right now. But Kevin, great to have you. I'm excited about this. We're going to do a lot of fun things, and one of the things you'll find out about me, and you already know this about me, but I like, like today for our people, I was kind of like 10 minutes before the show. I'm like, hey, I want some new music. I want some, I'll ask for a lot. I'm way easier to work with than I used to be. And so there will be days you'll have to say, Matt, I can't pull that off today. Yeah. And I almost, today there was about an hour and 30-minute period where you didn't respond to me via text. That will need to stop immediately.
I got it. If I don't, no news is good news in my book. It just meant that I was working and finishing up my other show, so I could capitalize on this.
No, I am one of these people that need the all you got to do is like it, and see that once you liked it, it was fine. I knew you were kind of engaged and ready to go, but yes.
My kids hate that because, they'll give me some huge life-altering text, and I'm like,
yeah, exactly. That's all I need is, but yes, we'll be doing our thing. And so Kevin Hall, which is odd because I went to Baylor. A lot of Baylor people know this guy, Kevin Hall, and his father is kind of a famous Baylor guy. His name is Ken Hall. And so, yeah, when you said when it was Kevin Hall, I'm like, really? That's his last name? Because I've got a longtime Baylor buddy, and he went into the mission. He went into the mission field, I believe. He and his dad are big, so I think you did not go into the mission field.
No, although but I know plenty of missionaries though.
Good. This is kind of a mission that we're on. So Kev, thanks, man. Welcome to the Mosley Show, and we're pleased to have you.
You got it, man.
And all we need to do now is find our I guarantee you Scotty's watching, although it's not good for your mental health to leave a show and then immediately watch. But he's probably like, was Mosley saying anything about me? Sure, we are. And where, Scotty, if you're listening, text Kevin where the breaking news sounder is. We need to know.
Yeah.
I like that because there's a ton of breaking news today. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Oh, there he goes. My gosh, I almost needed to ease people into the Kevin Hall era because I knew the hair would like grab everybody's attention. Kevin is, he does look like he's either like a REO Speedwagon tribute band, cover band. Looks like possibly like
I met.
Yeah,
we went to Disney before Christmas, and I met Chewbacca. Shared a kindred spirit with him.
Oh, there. I thought you were going to say somebody from REO Speedwagon, not Chewbacca. Yes. All right. We won't ask you to make your Chewbacca sounds, but Kev's all over it. And again, it will be kind of nice to have an Indiana insider as Indiana tries to go where no Indiana team has ever been. Of course, they've won national titles in basketball, the great Bob Knight. And they even played the Final Four, as I recall. Even after that, they had one run that the coach that ended up at George Mason has been around, and the guy who actually followed Bob Knight actually had a quick little run there. I believe they made it to Final Four, but most of their history is known for being great at men's basketball. And now suddenly They are unbelievable at football, and I think Vegas would tell you the odds-on favorite to win it all. Although the old adage, hard to beat a team twice in the same season. I think there's actually something to that. I think Indiana has enough to overcome a really good Oregon team. But as we saw the other day, I mean, Tech came into that game. They had the best team. They had the best team money can buy, and literally Oregon just completely shut that offense down. Now, some of it was just horrible play by Tech offense, and the quarterback, poor Baron Morton. I hate that's how he'll be remembered by some fans, is because that was a horrific performance. He's been a really nice player and a good Texas Tech, but Oregon put the clamps on them, 4 takeaways. Quarterback had an awful day. They couldn't run, they couldn't pass, they couldn't move the ball, and even when they got down there, they're still in the game because of their incredible defense. Now, we are going to talk about at 1:30 today. I'm going to we'll try to settle things down from a Baylor front. I was just talking about Texas Tech, and so Kev, go ahead and show it. I mean, Tech about 13, 14 hours ago made this move, and the guy that widely considered to be the best quarterback in the portal, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. There it is, $5 million. I like how Tech doesn't really try to hide anything. Tech's like, yeah, we've got this huge war chest. We're going out and spend it. And then on top of Brendan Sorsby, over the past 12 hours, it's just one defensive lineman after defensive lineman. And it's like, and again, they've got the credibility now with the incredible defensive front that they brought in for this season to make the college football playoff and win their first outright conference title since 1955. They have the credibility to make you think, well, that guy from University of Washington, okay, that guy from San Diego State. Like, those guys are just flat out, and they don't always bring in, it's not like, oh, we're going to go get the best player from Oregon or we're going to get the best player from OU. I mean, it is, but they pay these guys huge amounts. And at least this past season, the guys were incredible. In fact, David Bailey, I thought the other day, I think even in a losing cause, if we're talking about the greatest defensive players so far, like the greatest standouts, and again, I guarantee you, Kevin can name 7 deep of IU players that were tremendous in that game the other day, and they were. I mean, Indiana got the job done, and they're the only team with a bye. In the 2 years of this, the teams that have the bye are 1-7. So Curt Cignetti went out and then just stuck it to Alabama. You got mighty Alabama, and then I got to hear about and I on this show I haven't even had a chance to react to all the games the other day, but I got to hear about Kalen DeBoer saying it's a fine line. We're so close. We're so close. I don't know. I mean, it's 38. Does 38-3 sound close to you? I mean, they had to basically. There's the Indy man taking it's not close. It's not close.
Okay,
but can I say this? Yes, I don't want to hear you tell me 2 or 3 IU defensive players who just were just off the chain in that game. Okay, I want to hear that. But what I was wanting to say though first is, in finishing up with Tech, freaking David Bailey. That kid they brought in, the defensive end for Tech. I mean, that was a performance for the ages the other day against the Oregon team. Tech couldn't do anything on offense, and Tech stayed in that game until literally 7 or 8 minutes left in the game because David Bailey and Lee Hunter's great too. And I mean, you go right up and down the line. Romello Height's a great player for Texas Tech. We have a lot. Kevin, you'll learn this. We have a huge Big 12 audience on this show, and it's a lot of Tech people, and they know, and I got great respect for their front four and their linebackers. That David Bailey, the game he played in a losing effort the other day, I mean, that's a top 5. That's a lottery pick. I wish the Cowboys could trade up. Cowboys are going to have, now we know for sure, the 12th pick overall. Is David Bailey going to fall down to number 12? No, he will not. he can retrace. He's got good bend. He's got great quickness, explosion. He's good against the run. This young man showed up and he showed out in a big way for Texas Tech in that game the other day. And then now Tech. The great thing about the portal, your team, you're sitting there on New Year's Day feeling horrible about your team. And 24 hours later, you're like, okay, all right, we're going to get this quarterback. We're going to get this defensive lineman. And so your fan base can kind of have so everybody wants to change the calendar. I would say Texas Tech is very happy that the portal is started on January 2nd and that they could sit there and kind of drown their sorrows in putting together a top flight defense and offense. And here comes Texas Tech. All right, Kev, on that Indiana defense,
Yep.
like they lost 92. I love that kid that against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. That guy was awesome, and he had some kind of freak injury in celebrating, and they actually lost him. And I don't think we'll see him obviously the rest of the season, right? He's out.
Stephen Daly.
I love that kid, and he
great.
was great against Ohio State, and that was a freak injury. But this speaks to the team Signetti built, because comes out in that game the other day against Alabama, and no offense to Daly, but I mean, you'd never know they were missing some elite player, which Daly is. Walk us through real quick, Kev, that D line and that front seven and by the way, they're good in the secondary as well. Who are the 3 or 4 best players on that Indiana defense?
You mentioned the secondary. D'Angelo Pons, one defensive player, and credit to the Rose Bowl people for giving the offensive player to the center.
Coogan.
Pat Coogan.
Yeah. And I think they kind of did it. It was Coogan and the O-line. I think they they basically gave it, but that was kind of cool.
And some of the reactions that you see of the players, Surratt and Fernando, just being amazed that he got it, but also super excited that he got it. Speaks to the team that Signetti has created. As far as the front seven, I'm going to give you 3 guys. One is Aiden Fisher, the quarterback of the defense, the linebacker, but then opposite him is Isaiah Jones, has been on a tear all season. Nobody knows him, but he, when Fisher was out for a couple of games, Isaiah Jones stepped in, and he was that person as well. But then Rolija Hardy stepped up big into Stephen Daly's out of his shadow and stepped up big in that game. And, Signetti, it's not, people are saying, well, it's the transfer portal. It's changing college football. No, you know what's changing college football? Nothing. Good coaching. Always good coaching. Signetti has been able to create a culture with people who were overlooked and maligned their entire career, bring them together and create a team of guys who work together well. And that rises above any stars that you may have coming out of high school.
Well, yeah, and money helps, and Indiana, I think, has gotten behind him. But what he did is what Baylor will look to do in the future, and that is you identify the right person. And Signetti also, he came bearing gifts, and I had hoped Baylor. We had Joe Klanderman on. I really like Joe Klanderman, Baylor's new defensive coordinator. And the hope had been that a lot of these Kansas State defensive players that went in the portal might show up in Waco. And some of them will. Maybe a couple of them will, one in particular. But they're star players. There's going to be teams out there that are spending, a lot more money. And I've already noticed, I think it was Tech or Indiana. What Signetti did too, in addition to them, I mean, think about it. Wandering around the wilderness for like a century in football, for at least, let's call it 50 or 60 years. And you get a guy, and I don't want to get too far into this because we'll have plenty of time to talk about Signetti. But he did what Eric Morris is trying to do at Oklahoma State. Eric Morris is taking a ton of his North Texas guys with him. Signetti brought about 20 players from James Madison with him. That gave him familiarity. It gave him a great base. And then I'm sure a few players that was it Tom? Was it Allen? Coach Allen, Tom Allen? Anyway, a few play holdovers, but then he's just his preparation. You're right though, from a coaching standpoint, everybody wants to say, well, Indiana has more money than this part. Indiana has more money. Well, yes, they've come in and gotten behind him, and certainly they're spending more money than ever in the portal because of what they're doing, the success that they're having. But he still knows exactly what he's looking for. And when I hear people say, well, Baylor can't compete, or Baylor didn't have the money, or Baylor, well, I'm sorry. Signetti found a way at a place where historically they hadn't got it done. And I think it's his success has now made people more willing to, like Michigan sitting there like, who could we get? Oh, wait, Utah just screwed up, and there's a 66-year-old highly successful head coach with all sorts of credibility. In fact, Michigan took a shortcut to what Indiana did. Michigan got a guy that had done it at a high level for like 20 years. All right. So he steps in and he'll be expected to just do it immediately. Indiana took someone who'd had huge success at lower levels with a thought, let's see how he can do. Other teams have tried it to some success. What Signetti's done is just unparalleled. Like I think you can make the case that this is the greatest coaching job in the past 25 years. I mean, before Signetti did what he's doing in Indiana, I think Art Briles at Baylor, Chris Peterson at Washington, places that were kind of like Baylor had flatlined before Briles got there and was horrible. And Briles won big. Not only did he win, he turned Baylor into a top 5 program. I thought the Briles job, I think what Rule did in the aftermath of the Baylor scandal was huge. But I just, for Signetti to do it.
Did you see Albert Breer tweeted out during or just after the Alabama game? He said, "This is the greatest coaching job I have ever seen at any level in any sport." And that's Albert Breer, who is a very avid Ohio State fan, complimenting IU.
Also a longtime Mosley friend and the guy who replaced me with the Dallas Morning News many, many years ago, 2007, when I left to go to ESPN.com. Albert Breer had to fill the enormous shoes of Mosley at the Dallas Morning News. So we'll get him on. We'll get him on since you brought him up. We'll get Albert on soon and talk some NFL with him, maybe leading into the playoffs. As Kevin will find, as he already knows, we have a long list and a lot of fun guests on this program. In fact, Scott Drew, who Baylor got off to a rough start in conference play the other day against TCU. Obviously, James Najee, the new Baylor center, getting a lot of attention. Scott Drew will be on with us tomorrow, and Kevin will all work together to get that going, because sometimes we have to record those sorts of things, but we'll make it work because we'll be excited to have Scott on as Baylor gets ready for a huge home opener against Iowa State. And then, of course, Houston coming in. I mean, this is a nightmare of a conference, and they really needed to get off to a better start, and they did not against TCU. TCU's a pretty good team. They played better. They own like one huge win this season, and then they almost beat Michigan. Michigan's one of the best teams in the country, number 2 team in the country, and TCU only lost to Michigan by like 4, and that tells you that TCU is pretty good. But again, the Bears desperately needed a win the other day. They did not get one. Oh, we've got Grayson already there. Kev, I'll tell you what, we'll double up after Grayson is always on time. That is one of the things I love. Let's get Grayson on, Kev, and then we'll catch up and take care of our folks after we get after Grayson, if that works for you. All right, Grayson, welcome in to the Matt Mosley Show. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Just never stop working right now. It has been extremely busy.
This is a wild time, and you know what? If you want to be like Schefter and kind of look at your phone and break some news during the Mosley Show, I think that's totally fine.
There actually is some news, Mosley, that actually just happened. So it's an interesting story that I've been trying to track down for a while since Baylor hired their new defensive line coach, Ja'Cory Greer. And so the big name that happened was Ezekiel Durham Campbell, the Coastal Carolina edge. He entered the transfer portal. Steve Wiltfong just reported that he entered. He actually followed Greer from Louisiana Tech to Coastal Carolina. And so the thought is it would kind of make sense if he wanted to jump up a level from Coastal Carolina, the G5 level, to the Power 4 level, that Baylor would make a lot of sense. And maybe he wants to follow Greer to Baylor. He had 5.5 sacks a year ago, 2 forced fumbles. So he would definitely fill a pretty big need if Baylor was able to get him at the edge position. So that's kind of the most breaking thing. Obviously, they got commitment this morning as well, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. Now they got 3 commits, but that was definitely some big news that I'm sure all Baylor fans need to keep an eye on here.
Okay, this is what we need you for, Grayson. I think Baylor fans are borderline despondent as I was even checking your latest worry-o-meter. I like how you, and I think you probably will go back soon and update the running back position with Bryson Washington leaving. I think they probably, with Bryson and Caden and Michael Turner and everything, had enough. There he is up on the screen. Bryson Washington probably had enough to think that position was covered. That has changed, but that's a good one, Grayson. In fact, I'm retweeting that as we speak. The Coastal Carolina edge, Zeke Campbell. That's a good one. And as Grayson just said, he'll be one to watch with his close ties to the new Baylor defensive line coach, Ja'Cory Greer. I think, Grayson, the hardest part right now is I think everybody, and the 2 of us included, you can't, if you can't stand a team, and obviously Baylor fans mostly wanted a change at head coach, but you can't be shocked when you lose a ton of people in the portal. I just think, and I think you and I knew the number could get up around 25 to 30. I just think this is new for Baylor because, good or bad, Baylor's been pretty decent about holding on to their rosters. This may not have been a roster you wanted to hold on too much, but you are seeing some front line type players. And again, there weren't that many of them, but leaving the Bears, Winston, one of them, Bryson Washington. I think people would like to hear from you, Grayson, the Washington departure. Where was your surprise level at that? Did you think that was somebody they would be able to hold on to, or did you just think, hey, you're starting to see some running backs get huge money out there? Where was your surprise level on that news?
So I think the point that you just made about how Baylor's been able to retain the roster, that is very true. That's been a staple for Dave Aranda and this staff. It's been something that they've really been, trying to push towards. And you saw it with high school recruiting, right? They wanted to build that way, where you're recruiting guys out of high school, you're able to develop them, you're able to, turn them into, kind of your star players, in the long term. This year, they had to change that strategy, right? Because they have to win now. If they don't win next year, they're not going to be there. And so for that reason, they had to change some things up, and you have to value different positions. You have to value guys differently, and guys who are getting maybe a certain amount last year aren't getting the same amount this year. And that's going to obviously cause some tension. That's going to cause some guys to leave. And heading into the portal season, I felt like 30 plus transfer portal guys was not going to be very difficult to get to. They're at 29 right now, so they're definitely going to get over that 30 number. It's just the reality of college football right now, and it's the reality of Baylor football. They have to change some things up. They have to put value on different positions, and they have to figure out how they're going to make their budget work to where they can actually form a well-rounded roster. Now, as far as Bryson Washington goes, this is not a guy that Baylor wanted to lose. This is not a guy that Baylor was making a lot of changes with. This was not a guy that they were they wanted him. He was in their plans for this year and for the future. So losing him is really difficult. I also think from, looking from the outside in, it's a really difficult one to lose as well, right? Fan perception is just going to be like, wow, the streak continues, all of this, and it just becomes a pile-on effect. But and Bryson's going to end up at a really good spot. I think Ole Miss, I've heard A&M linked to him. He's going to end up at a really, really good program, and that's going to frustrate people. But for Baylor, you look at their room. They get Dawson Pendergrass back. They have Caden Knighton. They have Michael Turner. They're bringing in Rylan Morris. They'll probably bring in a transfer to kind of round out the room a little bit after the departure of Bryson Washington and Joseph Dodds. But this isn't a position that you look at and go, wow, this is a huge need for Baylor. This is a position that is going to make or break their season. I don't view it that way. And so losing Bryson is really hard. It definitely hurts your upside at the position. But I think in general, Baylor can still get by with the room that they have, assuming they don't have freak injury luck, which unfortunately they had this year. They had so many injuries in that room, and that's not really common. I mean, the year before, Bryson and Dawson were healthy the entire year. So definitely got to put that into perspective as well. But it's a really tough one optically, and losing a leader like that is really difficult, especially after you also lost Keaton Thomas a little bit earlier in the transfer portal season.
Okay, what about some of the others? Colton, I mean, sometimes you don't totally, I mean, I think you valued him, but isn't it interesting to look out there and go, a lot of people have him ranked as like the top first or second best interior offensive lineman. He ends up at Kentucky. Winston obviously has gone in the portal. I think what you've indicated is the D-line, that's your biggest worry. And they're going to have to be aggressive, and they're going to have to look in a lot of different areas. And that's going to be, I mean, I think it's hard also to watch. I mean, it's like Texas Tech. Think about it. We're only like 2 years removed. We're 1 year removed from actually beating Tech at Tech, right? And probably at that point, nobody looked at Baylor and Tech and thought, oh, Tech's like way ahead. In 1 year's time, it feels like they're like not even in the same stratosphere. They're like on a different planet. So I think it's hard to, you see all these departures and you're like, oh, Jackie Marshall's not going to be back. Who in the world are they going to line up with? That to me, from what I've read, from what you've been writing, Grayson, that's your biggest worry is how are you going to build a defensive line? And by the way, even the defensive line you had last year was not a very good one.
Right. And that is my biggest concern. And they haven't done anything quite yet to really address that. I think there's some positive news here. I just mentioned, Zeke Campbell would be a terrific addition if they're able to get him on campus for a visit and actually, land a guy from a coach that, is coming from that school. We haven't seen them do that with Kansas State yet, but there's still an opportunity out there with Ryan Davis, the edge from there. So, if you're able to get those two guys, they have a Western Kentucky edge visiting this weekend as well. I mean, they could fix that group pretty quickly and actually feel pretty good about the guys they have in that room. But the interior of the defensive line is where I am very, very concerned. I mean, you find out Jackie Marshall doesn't have eligibility. He's going on to the NFL. You lose just kind of guys who were on the team last year who maybe didn't perform, but you're still losing bodies. You're losing guys with experience like a Cooper Lands. You're hoping that a guy, like Samu Taumanu Pepe can maybe take that step forward, but he was hurt, out of shape all last year. So you're kind of just betting on that. And so you look to the transfer portal and you're like, man, you got to take a bunch of guys here. You really only have a couple rotation guys. And the ones that I think of in that role, specifically is Devontae Tizino. If they hold on to him, I think he can play as part of the rotation. But outside of that, man, it's a lot of question marks, and they're going to have to find bodies to put in there, and quality bodies as well. I mean, we're talking about starting quality guys. They're going to have to find those type of players. I'm very curious how they do that because, Joe Klanderman does value his defensive front, and he wants those guys to actually be able to create pressure and get into the backfield and cause havoc. In order to do that, you got to have some talented guys. And right now, they haven't quite put themselves in position for that. I do expect it to change because, again, they're going to value it. And if you have the money to value a certain position, you're going to have some hits. And ultimately, I think Baylor will get to that point. It's just been a little slow after the very first weekend. Again, it's the very first weekend. I wouldn't push the panic button quite yet on that.
Okay, we've seen Colorado and others bring in enormous numbers in the portal. Where do you project Baylor's got to bring in? I mean, like you say, it's like when they need 30 new players or somewhere in that neighborhood, 25 to 30 or so. I mean, when there need to be huge numbers, and like you said, you see them get off to a fairly slow start, and I think they have 3 and then hopefully more on the way. Is that about the right projection? How many do they need to have in this portal class?
I think that's pretty difficult to answer at this time. I would think it's going to be above 30, but my reasoning that I say that is because we saw last year, I mean, they just started adding bodies at the end there. I mean, just special teams guys. So it's like hard to account for those types. I would say that they're probably looking for, I would say somewhere between 20 and 25 guys who are actually going to be in and around the 2 deep, from starters to depth chart guys, somewhere along those lines. And then you might have some filler as well. But I specifically am looking at those spots that they're looking to fill. They've already got 3 of those type of guys, which is a good start. It's an okay start. I wouldn't say it's a great start, obviously. And they have a lot of work to do, but they are having a steady stream of visitors. And I think that's important as well, because regardless of how many guys they landed on the first weekend, you really want them to land the guys that they prioritize. And so I think that's going to be the more fascinating part as this week unfolds. You might not have gotten the first visit from a guy, and maybe you're getting the second or third visit. And so you're still giving yourself a great chance to land a guy, especially if they don't commit on that first weekend. So there's still plenty of options out there, but you're right. I mean, they have a lot of work to do. And really, they need to get this done so that guys can enroll for spring football. So you don't have a ton of time to figure that out. I assume it's got to be done probably by the end of this month. So we're talking, like 3 weeks to get this kind of solidified. That's kind of what they're looking at right now, which, it's an uphill battle. There's no doubt about it, but there's also a ton of guys in the portal. It's just really about the quality of those guys and how well do you evaluate. And we've seen that's been a problem, for Baylor's evaluations. And we saw it last year, and they got to correct that this year.
All right. People will want to know, Grayson, your take on quarterback, because Walker White has hit the portal. We know who Baylor has left. TCU just brought in a quarterback from Harvard, kind of an interesting prospect there. Hoover goes to it. And again, this Indiana coach, Signetti, has so much credibility now that, like, whoever they land, right? I mean, we know a lot about Hoover. We've seen him. He's good. But he'll be immediately like one of the number 1 Heisman candidates next year, because in that program, and obviously some of the numbers he's put up, is Baylor, DJ Lagway. I've read what you've said about him. I have been in contact with DJ's father, who played at Baylor. And the problem, of course, is Sorsby sets the market. Tech has set the market now at $5 million. I mean, you'd think DJ Lagway is he's going to want at least somewhere in the $2 to $3 million range. And Baylor's in that. We just talked about it. You got to look at your numbers and go, well, if we spend $2 or $3 million on a quarterback, that really cuts down on some of the things we can do in other areas. Where do you think Baylor is at quarterback? And is there a group of, like 5 people? I mean, I even looked at, I thought they might take a peek at the guy who got hurt at Oklahoma State, and they didn't. It didn't seem like Hoss Haney, who was going to end up at Colorado State with Jim Mora. And again, his problem has been staying healthy. He's got tons of talent. He's got tons of speed. But from what I could tell, Baylor didn't even take a peek at him.
So I would say the ones that have kind of, I guess, made sense or been most linked to Baylor from just a long-term standpoint are, as you mentioned, DJ Lagway, out of Florida. Georgia Southern quarterback J.C. French has been linked to them as well. He's put up some good numbers over the last 2 years. He's a good player, G5 guy. So, he would have to take a step up in level of competition, but also would have, in theory, better pieces around him. The other one is, of course, Ashton Daniels, who visited on the first weekend. He was at Auburn. He was the backup for Auburn. He played in multiple games at the end of the year. He played pretty well against Vanderbilt and Alabama to close the season. He's more of your runner. He's a really good runner, really good athlete, has been inconsistent throwing the football, but he does give you something from a leadership and experience standpoint. So I can see why they brought him in on that first visit. He and French would be cheaper options. There's also Mercer quarterback Braden Atkinson. He had really good numbers this year for Mercer. My issue with him is he's got a lot of years of eligibility. I think he was just a freshman last year. That doesn't, I think, fit with Baylor's timeline unless you're kind of just saying, you're basically moving on a little bit from your room at that point. If you're going to bring in a guy that's that young with that many years ahead of him, whereas French and Daniels, it's like they got 1 year, so you know what it is, right? They're going to come in, they're going to play this year, and then you're going to let your room develop for 1 more year and then roll with that group. And then of course DJ's got 2 years left. He would clearly make the most sense, and he would make people, I think, the most happy, right? But I think for DJ to be good at Baylor, the team has to be really good. And so for the team to be really good, you're going to not want to spend all of your money on the quarterback position. And I think the longer this drags out, the probably better it is for Baylor, because you're seeing these spots get filled up. I mean, you're seeing Tech get filled up. LSU's probably going to get filled up here in a little bit by Sam Levitt. You're just seeing Missouri got filled up, which was a school linked to him. There was another one that got filled up too that was linked to DJ. And so now it's just Florida State, who brought in 3 quarterbacks yesterday, I think. So they're going to have to make a decision on what they're going to do at the position. Then DJ is going to visit Virginia, which, I mean, maybe he goes to Virginia. They had a good year this year, but I feel like that I don't know. I feel like that would be a bit of a long shot, but who knows if the money works out there. And then, of course, he's looking at visiting Baylor probably at the end of this week. So I find it to be a fascinating situation for Baylor, and fascinating to see what direction they go. I think Baylor fans would be really happy if they landed DJ Lagway. It would give this program a much needed boost, some spark. But I also understand that you want to build a complete roster. And if you can't do that with DJ, then I understand potentially going in another direction. Personally, I think they should find a way to get DJ to Baylor, because I just think it makes too much sense.
Yeah. But the money they would spend, I mean, I keep coming back to that. Yeah. And he had tons of talent around him. It may not have been the right talent, I don't know, but it's not like, Florida wasn't recruiting and bringing in big time players. And he was very hit or miss there. But you're totally right. If you spend it's a catch-22. If you spend $3 million on him or $2 million or whatever, and you can't really surround him with much, and he doesn't really have an O-line, I mean, he can move fine. I mean, last time I talked to his dad, he was really talking about how he was going to slim down and get pretty trim, and that would even help more with his athleticism and everything. But I get what you're saying. Like, Baylor needs a win. Like, this would represent a huge win. The problem is, Grayson, as you know as well as all these players and their agents, they know the score. They know Dave Aranda's total lame duck status. And so they either have a 1-year piece it together and maybe win 7 or 8 wins and decide, well, let's keep going with him. Or what happens is kind of what we expect to happen is Doug McNamee takes a look at it, realizes that there's not much momentum with the program, and they need to get a new coach in. And I think most people are still in that mindset of, why didn't you do this before? And then, of course, we know the answers to that. We know the stuff with Mac. I mean, the whole thing is just like you just got to piece your way through it. Now, you are someone who looks at a lot of these players. You also look at the high school recruiting as well. Is there anybody out there that Baylor has at least targeted? I'm talking about in the portal, that kind of maybe below the radar that excites you at any position. It could be a receiver. I noticed you had Baylor had reached out to one of those group of 5, like a 5'10" wide receiver. Baylor has had success with the undersized slot receiver. I think it was the Kent State receiver who you had mentioned out there. Any of those type players, Grayson? People right now are just desperate for information and names. Is there anybody that's grabbing your attention that Baylor's at least kind of in on right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're in on a few guys. I would say, you mentioned high school recruiting. There was an interesting name that, visited Baylor on the first day, which is Arkansas linebacker J.J. Shelton. So he was recruited by Baylor in the past, and obviously he comes back on campus. So you have that high school connection there. A good player, would probably fit in as a Mike for Baylor. And I think Baylor's in a pretty good spot there to land him. Now, as far as guys who I'm excited about, guys who I really like on this cycle, I don't want to get into too many names, but I think there's this clear just path to Baylor having an awesome recruiting class at the wide receiver position. Dallas Baker is just doing such a great job there. And really, you can say you don't trust their evaluations on a lot of positions, but wide receiver, they have absolutely been money on pretty much every single transfer portal season. We saw it with Ashton Hawkins. We've seen it with Cole Wilson, Kobe Prentice. They've found some really good players out of the portal. They have a really interesting one visiting tonight into tomorrow, and that's Tulane wide receiver Shaz Preston. And he's an interesting one because he was actually recruited by Baylor when he transferred from Alabama to Tulane. And now it comes full circle this year after he really blew up this year for Tulane. He was their best receiver, kind of gave them a true alpha type. And now Baylor's back in on him, getting him on a visit. So he's definitely one I'm excited for. I think if Baylor got him, he would fit in really well at outside receiver, which is an area they absolutely have to address and absolutely have to hit on this portal cycle. I do think, looking around at some of the other positions, Auburn linebacker Robert Woodyard has been linked to Baylor, and he's been one that I've been really intrigued by. Baylor got to see him, obviously, in the first game of this year. Baylor's got a lot of problems at the linebacker position, I would say, after missing on Austin Romaine, the Kansas State transfer, as he committed to Texas Tech. And then, of course, Keaton Thomas leaving. You got to find a difference maker there. And I think Robert Woodyard would absolutely fit that. At that position. Great, really, really good athlete, really, really good player. So very intrigued by him. The edge position, I just mentioned it. I mean, Zeke Campbell going in was kind of the ideal one. Besides the Kansas State guys, he was kind of the guy that I looked at and said, Baylor really needs to find a way to land him. Because he's really good, 5.5 sacks for a bad Coastal Carolina team. He's a guy who's got great ties to, Ja'Cory Greer. He's got a great fit. He could be a great fit in Baylor's defense because he's 250 pounds. He's got good size to hold up against the run, but also be a really good pass rusher. So he definitely intrigues me, and he's one that I've kept my eye on for a while, as well as Ryan Davis, the edge from Kansas State, who I think his best football is ahead of him. He already has 6 sacks in his career, but I do think that going forward, these next 2 years for him are going to be his best years. So if you're able to get those two guys, I mean, you're feeling a whole lot better about Baylor's ability to get after the quarterback. So I would say that group right there is probably the main ones. There's plenty more. If you go to Sikkim 365, you can see all the names that I've been talking about. There's a lot of guys that Baylor's been linked to, that Baylor's targeting. One more, just when the portal opened that I really, really like, and I think he'd be a great fit for Baylor, and Baylor's been I think working pretty hard to get him on campus is Colorado wide receiver Draylon Miller. He was from Silsbee, was unbelievable in high school, a top 100 prospect, goes to Colorado, has his ups and downs, got injured last year, didn't play a ton, had to play some running back out of need for them. Just a really gifted playmaker with the ball in his hands. Kind of will remind you a little bit of Josh Cameron, except he fits in more in the slot than Cameron did, but the ability after the catch, the ability on special teams, Draylon Miller is definitely another one that I am very interested in, and I think Baylor's very interested in as well.
All right, I love all those, and I'm trying to think right now. Misery loves company. Like I'm trying to think of some of these other Big 12 teams that are, Iowa State was looking around, and they don't have many players left, and Matt Campbell's sort of taking everybody with him. I think it was probably unfair to Joe Klanderman. You've been around Joe now, and you heard, I got to talk to him and everything. I think when you bring in a defensive coordinator, there's these expectations like, oh, he'll just bring his whole defense with him. And in this era, that there might have been an era where something like that worked. This era, the reason it doesn't work because everybody's getting paid. And like if A&M or Tech decide, you know what, I love this Romine guy. I think we can give him $2 million. Well, Baylor can't. Baylor's got to get tons of players. Tech may be in a position where let's just get 12 really good players. Like I wonder. I don't even know what game we're playing now, Grayson. If you think about it, like Tech begins every portal with seemingly somewhere in the neighborhood of like $15 million to spend on the portal. And it may even be a little bit more than that. Like tops, what do you think Baylor has, especially with those decommits that they had? To me, it feels like if Baylor's working with like 5 to 6 million, that would be pretty great. Does that sound right to you? If we're just trying to take a stab at what Baylor's working with in the portal compared to somebody like Tech right now.
Yeah, I think Baylor's working with a little more than you just said, but I think Tech is working with a lot more than you just said. I mean, they're paying a quarterback $5 million. So I don't think they're spending a third of what they're going to spend just on the quarterback position. I think they are somewhere
20 to 25 million.
I would bet that's what I would bet for them. And I mean, you can see it though. Look at the guys that they're in on, the guys that they landed. I mean, they're landing the number 1 edge guy. They're landing probably going to land the number like 2 or 3 edge guy, the dude from Oklahoma State, Gregory. They're landing a really good defensive lineman as well from Washington. They got the best cornerback from UTSA. Like, they are loading up on the transfer portal, and they're going to go get probably receivers as well for Swordsby. I mean, they're just playing a different game right now than everyone in the Big 12, to be honest. You know, even BYU, who spent a lot last year, they divvied it up a lot with basketball. Tech is going all in on football. And I mean, you know, credit to them. They went on a big run. They have a big donor in Cody Campbell, who's also really tied to the university, who really cares about how good they are at football. And he's willing to pay up for it. And for that reason, they're being very, very competitive in the portal. And you're just seeing them land really good player after really good player.
Yeah.
And that's just not something that's realistic for Baylor right now. They're going to have to scout and develop a little bit better, whereas Tech really doesn't have to scout and develop at all. I mean, you just go look at the top rankings on 247 or on 3, and that's really all they have to do from a scouting standpoint.
Well, and Doug McNamee has to scout and develop more donors, right? I mean, we can sit around and go, we don't have a Cody Campbell. Well, not many schools do have a Cody Campbell. You know, but Baylor has plenty of rich people, plenty of successful people, but they got to bring more in. But I love the fact, Grayson, that we, in our minds, we somehow, I cannot believe I fell for it. Like that somehow Rev Share was going to provide these guardrails, and college administrators fell for it. Like, they literally thought, okay, this is going to help, and we're all kind of playing the same ball game. Tech just sat there and laughed at that.
They did.
And meanwhile, Tech's biggest benefactor is trying to make the rules for all of college football, and he may actually have some pretty good ideas. I mean, I don't, but it is funny that everybody thought, okay, we got these guardrails, and you're right, they're playing a completely different game. And BYU kind of just picks and chooses, like, oh, this year we'll be great at basketball, and we're still really good at football. And it's amazing, like, who stepped forward and who stepped back. And honestly, Baylor, with our religious ties, Doug McNamee talked that up like crazy. I mean, they need to, if they're going to lean into that, they kind of need to lean into it like BYU's leaned into it, and so anyway, I do want to transition real quick, and I want to get you back to it because I love having you on. Basketball wise, real quick. You and I both love it, and we both watch it. I know you watched a TCU game the other day. I mean, I think the problems were lack of physicality, getting whipped on the boards. Supposed to be a great offensive rebounding team, though TCU had more offensive rebounds. I think they had 19, and then TCU raced it up and down the floor, killed Baylor in transition. But I mean, I was hoping this would be a good transition team, if nothing else. I think they got beat in fast break points like 19-4 in that game. So, Grayson, again, I come to you for sort of positivity, because the truth of the matter is, and I'm somewhat a positive person, but knowing the Baylor schedule that they have coming up, and knowing even going to the TCU game, Lenardi had him like his first 4 out. This did not even resemble remotely a tournament team the other day, the team they played against TCU. And plus, Scott and them don't like Isaac Williams for whatever reason. Like, he's the most, from a point guard standpoint, he's got way more athleticism than Agbum, and yet he did something to piss off Scott early in the second half, and they just sat him for the final 15 minutes of the game, even though he's the only one of those smaller guards who has any chance of getting in the lane and finishing at the rim. Okay, so there's my rant. Where are you with all this?
I mean, I'm with you. I mean, getting into the lane, and I mean, listen, we talked about this in the offseason. Their position, that point guard position, is going to cost Baylor. It just is. And I think it's pretty apparent. And I like Isaac Williams. And yes, you could say, oh, why is he not playing more? Obi can't get in the lane and really struggles with more athleticism in front of him and length. He really struggles to get into the paint and get to his spots. But also, it's like Isaac Williams has turnover problems. Isaac Williams is still not a great shooter. Isaac Williams is still not a complete point guard yet. And honestly, it's not really fair to him, because he wasn't supposed to be in this position for Baylor. He wasn't supposed to play all these minutes. He's good. He's going to be a really good player, but I just don't think he's quite ready yet. And it just is a lingering effect of Robert Wright, what he did to this Baylor program in the offseason, leaving to BYU. He was who Baylor banked on. And then you went and looked in the portal, and Baylor decided that, there weren't there wasn't another point guard that they wanted to add. And ultimately, I do think that is going to cost them in the long run. It could cost them a tournament berth, even though I still think they're going to get there. We'll see. They're going to have to come out of this stretch that's going to be really difficult. They're going to lose quite a few more games here coming up. They're going to have to rebound from that. And we'll see how they rebound from kind of that first initial wave of negativity, that first initial wave of kind of being, beat on a little bit, because I do kind of expect that to happen. But I do think the rest of their schedule in Big 12 play is still workable. Like, they can still win a lot of these games. They're going to have to hold serve at home against the teams that they're even with or that they're supposed to beat. And if they can do all that, they can still make the tournament. But I think the point guard position is just going to put a cap on their season. And I think it was pretty easy to see that in the offseason, but I think we've gotten more examples of that as the season has gone on. They tried to fix their big spot with James Najee, but that's going to take a little bit of time. But I do think ultimately that position will get fixed a little bit more as he's able to play more. But the point guard spot, they just don't have another option to go to. The roster is what it is, and the guys that they have are what they are at this point. And I think it's just ultimately going to hurt them in these big games where they need their point guard to lead them. They need their point guard to find ways to get into the paint and create shots. They need their point guard to hit big shots or set up big shots. And I just don't know that they have the guys that are going to be able to do that consistently enough these close games come up in Big 12 play.
I almost wish now, looking back at the non-conference, that they had let Tunde or Cam almost try to run the team or experiment more with that, or try to because there's, and I've seen this over the years, it's pathetic when you watch an offense that can't get initiated. They've done the weave. Everybody does the weave thing now. Baylor's done it for years and years. They couldn't even really get into that the other day. And I mean, again, I know TCU is a top 25 team from a defensive ranking standpoint, not from an actual top 25 team, but still, you've got to get into and bring Grayson on. I got to see him when I'm talking to him, Kevin. I think I was embarrassed. I mean, I know, they were kind of having fun with it on ESPN. Bruce Pearl said something about it, but he was actually right. Like, it's embarrassing that we didn't have. You and I could have figured out a way to put some letters on Najee's jersey. I mean, that was it. You can't send a kid who's got that much attention, and then he gets booed. And then I thought, and I'll bring this up with Scott. Scott seemed a little surprised the other day that they this has been all the talk for like a week and a half. Everybody's killing this kid and killing Baylor for doing it. You thought the TCU kids weren't going to recognize him and go in on him, and it wasn't even that big of a deal, by the way. But I would say I don't know who is in charge of. You probably know this, the equipment and all, and I'm sure they're a great person, but you can't let that happen. I mean, that's to me, you send a poor kid out there with no name on his jersey. He was there. He was in town for a week before the game, like 5 or 6 days. So I give him a bad grade on that. And anyway, you can sense my frustration a little bit with this, but I don't know. We need Grayson. We need people like you who continue to find, and I appreciate all your coverage. We'll make sure we get this interview up and get it to Ashley so he can put it up on Sikkim. I want to encourage people to follow, to sign up for Sikkim 365, because some of this stuff, you can see it on Twitter that you're putting up, but when like the full on analysis and the worry-o-meter, I think I saw you say, Grayson, that in the first 3 days of the portal, y'all had like sprinted past 100,000 views. So you're obviously doing something right. And while Baylor people are frustrated and not excited about Aranda, and all of that is true, they're still thirsty for news and everything. So anyway, I wanted to commend.
They are. Baylor fans are excited, man. They're excited still, even with the struggles that are going on, in recruiting. There was hope and optimism. And so the more information that gets out there and the more information that gets to Baylor fans, I do think the better the push will be, and maybe the better vibes will be, especially if they're able to actually come through with a good portal class.
All right. Need a good, the good thing would be landing a quarterback, because that would be, and then the next time we talk, I do want to get your take on, like, with Quinn coming in and Ed and Nate. It's like that was an interesting point you made. Like, the whole room might get irritated, but again, are we even in a position to worry about people getting irritated? Like everybody's leaving. It's a very strange thing to know what you need to do in the portal, and then also know it's more than likely this won't be the staff moving forward. The whole thing makes it very awkward. And I'm sure even when you're having conversations with potential, I mean, it's coming up everywhere. And then people, the fans out there are like, wait, what did Caden Knighton's dad say during the season on Twitter? You know, and like, oh, wait, the uncle's on Twitter today responding to something I had, like, well, he's going to stay. He's going to stay. It's like, oh, the whole thing is kind of a mess. But thank you for your coverage, and we're really enjoying it. And I would recommend, I am on the premium membership, and that allows me to see what all the people are saying, all the great things. And y'all do a nice, yes, and you do a nice job of actually coming in there and visiting with the posters and stuff. But like even on one thing you put up, like the Worryometer, probably you did it like a day ago or so, right? Within 24 hours, I think I looked a little while ago, and there were 7 pages of people. Yeah. Oh, I used to hate. I remember they would say, Matt, you've got to go in there and address the commenters. Like when I was at ESPN.com, and I was like, do I have to? But again, these are the people that are paying for this, so it's nice that you do it. Grayson, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm afraid this is cutting into your basketball time too. All this portal activity. So.
My middle schoolers got practice tonight, so we're good. I got some coaching to do tonight, but yeah, basketball's been good.
Do you have the middle school team doing the weave out front? Like, oh yeah,
3-man weave and do a 3-on-2, 2-on-1. We're getting after it.
All right, Grayson, I appreciate you.
All right, see you, Matt.
All right, there he goes. Grayson Grundhoefer does a really nice job on Siegmund 365, and he's been covering all this Baylor stuff, and even as we said, that was about a minute when he came on. He had just put up some stuff. This guy's a good multitasker. I wish I was like that. Well, I'll tell you what you do though, Kev. Our man Kevin, first day as the official producer of the Mosley show, and I'm going to give him a grade at the end of the show. I'm going to kind of give him some on-air analysis. That's right. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do though, and we do need. Let's take care of our friends at Central National Bank. I do love seeing that huge, beautiful graphic up there, Kev. When we're talking the old CNB, our presenting. Oh, there it is. There it is. It's beautiful. Appreciate it. And Brian Fonville and the whole Nesbitt family. They are huge fans of the show, and they are huge supporters. Okay, so we've done a lot of portal. That was great. Tell you what, let's take care of our sponsors, including Allen Samuels. I got a lot to share there because they're still doing some unbelievable end-of-the-year inventory. I'm going to get into a little bit of that for Allen Samuels. Ted Teague out there, our great friend. We'll do all that next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we were hoping Coach Collin would bring that championship mindset to do whatever she has to do to take our workplace culture to the next level.
Well, these donuts are pretty good.
Guys, how we doing?
We're good, Coach.
Craig! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You have to dunk it.
So far, I think our employees are really enjoying it.
Not everything's a basketball thing.
Did you say something, Craig?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Dude, I think she likes you.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.
Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup from cars, trucks to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cabin chassis, and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by, let's be friends.
Bubble wasn't here. I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia. Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
WhyPersonalLoans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit PersonalLoans.com today.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit PropMoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit vivosun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
All right, it is the Matt Mosley Show. Good to have Grayson on, and we had a bit of breaking news as he was on, as looks like the Coastal Carolina edge rusher Zeke Campbell has entered the portal. That was according to Steve Wiltfong, and 6'5", 247-pound prospect, had 5.5 sacks and 2 forced fumbles this year at Coastal Carolina. Bring him on. And he has close ties to Baylor's new defensive line coach, Ja'Cory Greer. You also heard Grayson talking about Ryan Davis, edge rusher out of Kansas State. Need Joe Klanderman, Baylor's new defensive coordinator, to bring one of these K-State players in. Romine, I believe his name's Austin Romine, already taken by Texas Tech. I was coming in too low on that tech number. I mean, I thought, because last year I think they spent $15 million or somewhere, but you're right. If they're spending $5 million on a quarterback, it's a good bet that they got about $20 million to spend in the portal. I mean, how in the world do you compete with that? I guess you can just give up, or you can, retrench and try to get something done. And Baylor will try. I mean, they will line up and play next season. They're going to try to put something together. I get it. I mean, Baylor people right now are kind of like doom scrolling. They don't like this coach. They don't like this coaching staff for the most part. And yet they're desperate for this coaching staff to land players and at least put up something representable next year. I mean, it's hard to know what you want. I mean, because in the NFL, tanking sort of helps. And obviously if the Raiders are going to pick number 1 overall because they were horrific this season, Baylor doesn't. I mean, they're still going to have relatively the same portal money the next year. Now, what they would have with a brand new coach is, I think you'd probably have more of the donors get excited and try to raise money. I mean, this is a tough time to try to say, hey, we need more NIL money. And, did we go 5-7? Yeah. And is this the same team that a couple of years ago went 3-9? Hell yeah, same head coach. But please give us all the money in the world so we can go out. What Tech did and what Tech is now feels like you're just playing a whole different sport. I mean, it's just and again, I hate to, I don't beat up on them. I mean, they got Cody Campbell, they got billionaires, they got Cody, and they got John Sellers, and they got Dusty Womble, and they're just out there. How much you need? How much money you need? And they're just like, now you say, well, what do? You just give up? No, you go out and try to get as many players as you can, and you try to identify. I mean, they tied themselves to Dave Aranda for next season because they got put in a bad spot and they didn't know what else to do, and they didn't have anybody around to fire Dave Aranda. And he knows it. He knows it. And so he's got to do the best job he can. And so he's going to, with this portal class, he's going to try to come out and throw haymakers. And they got a new defensive coordinator. He's going to get one last chance at being a head coach. And if it doesn't work out, I mean, who knows? He may never be a head coach again. And Baylor will move on, and they'll have a new coach. And that will be, if it happens, I think the Baylor family will get behind a new coach and hopefully somebody that has a new vision. I mean, the whole scandal had hit, and everything looked bleak before they hired Matt Rule. And Matt Rule came in, painted a new vision, brought in new players, had an interesting recruiting vision. Now it's a whole different deal. Like if you put together a coaching search right now and you had to go, and I'm talking about, let's say they do have to do it next season. I mean, it's totally different than what you did before. You gotta, hey, someone that could be in the portal, somebody that's won huge. I mean, like if I'm Baylor, the next coaching search you do, if you have to do one, it would be like, okay, how's the guy doing at James Madison? How's the guy doing at North Dakota State? How's the guy at Montana State? You got to look at all of those things, because you had a guy, Indiana did not have that much money. It's not like they went and paid Kurt Signetti like an enormous amount of money. Oh, come in here and turn us around, Kurt. Oh, we love what you're doing at James Madison. Partially, they lucked into the hire. But give them credit, they got the right guy, and he had such preparation. He brought in so many great players from James Madison, and then he had spent some time on Nick Saban's staff at one point in time. And right now, of the Final Four that are left, Indiana has to be the odds-on favorite to be your national champion. Can a school like Baylor go find the next Kurt Signetti? Well, yeah. I mean, why not? Like the facility, are you telling me the Indiana facilities are like, way better than Baylor's? The answer is no. Now, I'm sure it's gotten better in our new producer, by the way. Kevin Hall can speak to that because he went to Indiana. But I mean, Baylor in the Big 12, their facilities are fine. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, they're way behind everybody in that area. Bottom line is, Baylor had the wrong hire for the NIL era, and they knew it. It's not even Aranda's fault. He was a logical hire. He was coming off a national championship at LSU. He was known as like a defensive genius. All right. I mean, it was a logical hire. Now, should they have cut ties with him much sooner than they have? And they still haven't, by the way. Sure, they should have. But again, that's what everybody's trying to do right now is to emulate, and I'm sure it feels good. Kevin gets to feel kind of what we felt when Art Briles took over. It was like you're out in the wilderness from the time that Grant and Chuck after him were forced out. Baylor's walking around in the wilderness. In about 2008 or 2009, they stumble upon, they're like, wait a second, why don't we hire this guy who was a great high school coach who's been doing a good job at Houston? And let's see what he can do. And not only was it was, I mean, obviously it didn't end well, but it was one of the greatest hires in college football history, which is the way Signetti's is already viewed. You brought up Kevin earlier about what Albert Breer said about it's like maybe the greatest coaching job at any level. Now it sounds like hyperbole, but again, and we'll wait and see how long Indiana can sustain this. But the fact that they're here and the fact that they're playing for the right to play in a national title game is unheard of. And as optimistic, Kevin, as you might have been, there's no Indiana fan out there that when they hired Curt Cignetti thought, oh my gosh, this guy, we're going to compete for national championships. Nobody in their right mind thought that. They probably thought this is an interesting hire.
Well, I've heard it since Indiana has beaten Alabama, it kind of flipped and said, well, if Alabama had gone out and hired Cignetti, they'd have been laughed at for that.
Oh, sure.
And yet here we are, Kalen DeBoer getting, absolutely stomped by Cignetti, right?
You needed, but see, that's where it worked in Indiana's favor. You needed, and by the way, that guy is a made man, whoever the AD is, who went and hired Cignetti. You needed to be in Indiana's place to hire a guy like Cignetti. I mean, the only other schools that have done things similarly, and it's worked to some effect, it's been kind of mixed results. Like Kansas State did it with Kleiman. Kleiman won huge North Dakota State and won all those national titles. And so that was, in a sense, he was a little bit like Cignetti before Cignetti. And then Kansas went and hired a pretty good coach, and he's been okay. They've kind of fallen back down, but they hired a coach from Buffalo who at least brought pride and some dignity to Kansas football. Those are sort of the best. Kansas is a decent comparison to Indiana, although Kansas under Mangino had a little brief period of being really good. Indiana had a brief period of like when Von Dunbar was there many, many years ago. You mentioned Antoine Randall. Those guys were there at Indiana and played Baylor. By the way, Baylor had a great team in my freshman year in college in 91, and they ended up playing Indiana in the Copper Bowl, and Indiana was pretty good under, could you name that coach? Who would that have been? I mean, it goes back.
Not ringing the bell.
Did Lee Corso coach in Indiana? Bill Mallory was there at some point, maybe in the 80s, and then early 90s. Indiana again had a really good running back and had a pretty decent. Had Randall L was just kind of, he was a little bit like Cordell Stewart in that he could kind of do it all, and he was a fun player. And then, like Cordell, went and had a nice NFL career and played for the Steelers too, right?
And Randall L. Right. And now he's the receivers coach for the Lions, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And Michael Penix started his career at Indiana before he went to Washington.
Penix was at Washington. Yeah, it was at Indiana. I got you. For Tom, what was that guy's name?
All right. And you ready? You mentioned the Cignetti and the Saban. You ready? Cignetti was on Saban's staff. Do you know who gave Coach Saban his start as a DB coach way back in West Virginia? It was
DB's
Kurt's dad, Frank Signetti.
Frank Signetti, father of Kurt. Wow. This guy has become like, it's not usual that we get the combination of like a real character. Usually the real characters are a little bit more like Leach, great coaches, but not someone we think, well, they're going to win a national title. They're just very funny, quirky people. It's very rare we get the quirky, weird guy who's like an unbelievable coach all in one. I think the verdict's still out, like on Kiffin. Kiffin has the quirky weirdness, borderline great coach. We'll see what he does at LSU. I mean, honestly, that would be hilarious. One of the reasons I'm rooting, again, I would love to see the Hoosiers finish this out, but it would be hilarious.
It would be
if Ole Miss won it all without Kiffin, with him, in goal. And I think he would try to take a lot of credit for it because a lot of those players he recruited and all that. But I think the fan base would laugh at that like crazy. And again, there's more news, and we'll take a break here in a minute, and we'll come back and we'll do some Campus Confidential. Let me just say this though before we do. Because we got a big Twitter audience. Appreciate you guys being on premium Twitter. Go sign up for the YouTube. We right before the break, I almost didn't want to take a break because we had just through November and all the madness with Baylor's AD stuff and all the stuff that happened with Mac. We just saw more and more in our audience build. But another part of our audience that I haven't really hit on today, by the way, Kevin, we'll do a lot of Cowboys. And so we'll do mock drafts. We'll do the draft because the Cowboys are going to be big players in this draft because they have the 12th pick and then they'll have the pick of like wherever the Packers end up. Cowboys, finished yesterday. Who cares? Were you wanting them to be 8-1? Was that going to mean anything to anybody? No. They put Dak out there, probably shouldn't have in the first place, but they did. And they let him play the first half and they got him out of the game and they lose to the Giants. What did the Giants win by that? Oh, wait, the Giants had a chance to be number 1 overall and they played themselves by winning that game into the 5th overall pick. They literally were going head to head with the Raiders for the number 1 pick overall. And by winning that game, they played themselves down to the 5th pick. So it was, I don't know how you lose that game if you're the Giants, but you shouldn't have won it. And the Cowboys did what they needed to do. They should have never played Dak, but they played him for a half. They got him out of the game. Milton went out there and did about what you would think Joe Milton would do. He runs around. He's got great athleticism. And then he throws a horrific pick across the middle. Just linebacker just baited him right into it. It's like, how in the world did you not see that and try to throw a seam route, I think, to his tight end? A couple of things happened in that game that span forward, Brevin span forward, that big 6'7" tight end for the Cowboys, a good blocker, pretty good receiver, pretty good target. I like what we saw from, I liked how he looked in that game. I will tell you that yet the big news now comes, and I've been watching all day to make sure something doesn't happen with Matt Eberflus. They will make a change. Okay, I just promise you cannot run Eberflus back out there because as unfair as it is in some ways, 7 days before the season, they trade the best pass rusher in the game. Trayvon Diggs just wanders around all season, then trying to put up a TV at home, which is still just sounds like a complete made-up story, falls down, has a concussion, talks his way out of town. They hated by the end of the time, then didn't want to fly back with the team for Christmas, wanted to stay in Washington. Shotty tried to make him get on the plane. He said no, he stays there. Cut. He's done. I think Shotty felt like Trayvon Diggs and Micah were undermining him, and so they were ready to have him in the building. The problem was they were horrible at secondary. They were horrible at linebacker, and they were decent at defensive line. Their best pass rusher they had to bring up and off the couch. Literally, Jadeveon Clowney had 3 sacks in that game yesterday and played his rear off. He thought basically his career was over. Cowboys had to go sign him at age 32 off his couch, and he was their best pass rusher. This team is a mess on defense. Awful. And Jerry even went back 5 or 6 years and said, hey, we weren't that great with Dan Quinn. Well, at least they had some form of an identity. Their identity is they got a ton of takeaways. And you say, well, that was Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. Well, fortunately, they still have Deron Bland. Maybe they can put him back together. Maybe they can get his confidence going and then add to it. So here's all you need to do in the draft and in the offseason. Okay? You need another starting linebacker. You need at least one you got to hit on somebody on the edge. You need 2 more cornerbacks, and you need another safety. Okay, does that sound good? Does that sound easy to do? That sounds like Baylor in the portal. Baylor's out there just wandering out of the wilderness. Anybody over at Coastal Carolina? Anybody out there? Anybody there that can sack the quarterback? Okay. Anybody over at Kent State? The only thing I can tell you, I saw Baylor was trying to get like a 5'10" receiver out of Kent State. And the only thing that makes me feel good about that is guess where Julian Edelman came from? That's right. He played at Kent State. What position did he play? He played quarterback at Kent State. At this point, beggars can't be choosers. Okay. You're going to lose. As of today, it's going to get to 30. You have lost 30 players in the portal, which means you've got to bring in 30 dudes. All right, you're off to a slow start. You got 3. You got the hope. I mean, this is and we had Grayson on earlier, and he's a hopeful, kind of optimistic guy. But yeah, it's bad. Okay, I've got more on the NFL, and we're going to do some Campus Confidential. All right, the first day, I wanted Kevin to kind of ease into this. He's co-hosted the show. He's produced the show before in spot duty. Now he's going to be doing it on a daily basis. And I'm going to have to figure out his schedule, because if I can't get a hold of somebody, I start to freak out. But Kevin has another show, which will not be mentioned. Kevin, no, I'll tell people about it, because it will be, it was just, I was just like, it used to drive me nuts that he would like say another show like constantly. I was like, can we focus on this particular show? But now you do is it country music stuff?
So I produce the Zach Owen show from 8 to 10.
Very famous. Yes. Yes.
Yep. At the backyard.
So you're telling me that by like 10:30 or 11, if I need you, I can get a hold of you?
Roughly. I'm probably doing a little bit of a cleanup from that show, and
all right.
Now,
well, maybe at night. All right. I started trying to introduce you to the Mosley schedule last night with my late night text. Are you up late at night or not?
Only with my wife.
I don't understand that.
We guard our time, we'll say.
Only where you're on. Okay. All right. Well, we got 2 strikes against you, because that's what I'm doing, wanting to do everything. All right. We'll figure it out. We'll get on a deal. I am going to need to talk to you before we go live every day at 1:00. All right. Let's take care of our sponsors, though. And then we'll do some Campus Confidential. We got huge portal news today, including Texas Tech signing a quarterback for $5 million. Let's do Campus Confidential. Let's do it next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NordVPN.com. Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
We offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at bizchair.com to transform your business.
Circulon C1 Series clad with scratch defense non-stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
It is the Matt Mosley Show. Thank you, Central National Bank. Let me see that. Let me see. Oh, there it is. Central National Bank, our presenting sponsor. Also, we'll be telling you more about what's going on out at Allen Samuels. In fact, I saw a flurry of activity earlier today. Still have all sorts of things going on out there at Allen Samuels. Great selection of new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. No payments for 90 days. And that'll put you into March with that new, this is, I didn't want to hit it hard today because the incentives carried over from December. So huge discounts out there, phenomenal financing rates. And those new and used cars, trucks, and SUVs. So final day to take care of that. And so I wanted to note that, and that will be great. All right, let's do Kev. Let's do a little Campus Confidential. Kevin Hall is my new producer, longtime friend of mine, dating back to our time this season on the pregame. And I think he got a feel for what it's like to work with me. It's not easy, can be fun at times, can be unpredictable, but we like that. We want that with our show to feel like that at times, although I like some of it to be predictable. But Kevin, we've had this is the time of day for anybody joining us that's new to the show. This is when is that light? Are you shining a light into your eyes? Every once in a while I'll see you kind of squint, like maybe you could just put some sunglasses on. That would help.
I do have a selection of them.
Oh, good. You've got some sunglasses if you need to put those on. Now, this is when we hit some of the top stories in college athletics, and then I'll react to them in short order. And then if Kevin wants to react as well, he can do that. But this is Campus Confidential. The longtime Baylor basketball coaches, even the ones that coach other schools now, will tune in because they like to watch and see what we talk about during Campus Confidential. Kevin, I'd like to ask you to take it away, sir.
All right. 4,500 Division I athletes hit the portal.
Ooh.
That is about a third of them. What do you think about
I thought it was 3,500. 4,500. You're saying D1?
Yes.
Or I guess it's any. Yeah. I mean, you have to, if you're D3 or D2, I guess you have to go in some form of a portal. But still, 4,500. And
about a third of the total athletes.
What's crazy is about a third of that number will end up with like nowhere to go.
Right.
Like, I mean, we think oh, everybody's going to have a spot, and there's such a, I mean, like, for instance, Baylor, when you heard Grayson say that, and that worries me when he said, like, last year's portal, they just started adding bodies. That's not fun to hear. Like, you really want to make it count and get impact players. But the truth is, there'll be, okay, let's see, you said 4,500.
Yep.
I bet 1,200 of those are kind of looking around here when the portal closes on the 16th and like, wait a second, what did I do?
Right.
What are my options now?
Because what does it say to your current program that you entered? Are you going to be welcomed back if you don't land
True.
any place?
Yeah, and Baylor maybe. That's right. They may take you right back in, given the way things are right now. It's, that's a good one to bring up, Kevin. I'm glad you led with that. 4,500. It's crazy. But yeah, there'll be a lot of people without a place to go. I got my gut reaction to this Baylor stuff is when you have a bad season and you as a fan, you don't really love the team and the coaching staff and all, you can't be shocked and you can't be that mad that a ton of players are going to leave, because, by the way, the players pick up on that too. They had a rough season. They know that most of the fan base wants all these coaches fired, especially the head coach. So what, you thought all these players were going to stay? This was always going to be a situation where a ton of guys were leaving. Now, we want our cake and eat it too. I get it. It's like you want like tons of guys to leave and you want a whole bunch of new players, but you want to keep the KT Thomases, the Keaton Thomas, the Bryson Washington, Winston. You want to keep your really good players.
Yep.
Have everybody else leave. That's not the way it always works.
Mm-mm.
Those players are friends, and it's like it's hard to stay when you see everybody else going. It's also hard to stay, honestly, if you're Bryson Washington, and let's say you're making as a star running back at Baylor 200K. Let's say 200 to 300K, and you're seeing top running backs make somewhere in the like 800,000 to $1 million. It's hard not to check. Now, what would Baylor pay him to stay? Well, they would be foolish if they paid him $1 million. Think about how many players they need. They can't be paying running backs $1 million. Now, can they pay a quarterback in this, 1.5 or 2? They can. And maybe you'll get a decent quarterback, but you need to have a lot of money for other players to come in. And I'm talking about decent players. I think the Coastal Carolina type players are who you should be going after. I also heard him mention a Tulane player.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what position it was. Anyway, those are the schools. Listen, that's what right now Oklahoma State's loading up on every UNT player you can imagine because that's who they got. Same thing with Summerall at Tulane. He's going to bring some of those players he's at Florida now. He's going to bring a lot of those players to him. Okay, what else do you have for me?
All right. Speaking of paying players, $5 million is too much for a college quarterback. Yes or no?
Man, I would usually say yeah.
Because what?
But
what did Beck get last year? 3, and now that jumped to 5 this year.
No, somebody got 4. I think Mensa at Duke got huge money. I think he might have gotten 4. He might have received 4. I would say that most times I would say, and we thought the market would be in that 5 to 6 range, and it turns out it has been. And
because
Tech has set the market here.
I also have to compare this to what a rookie contract is in the NFL. Where do you have to land in the draft to make that? Second round?
To make 5, let's see, a rookie contract, a second round rookie contract. That's a good point. I'll look that up. I think what Sorsby is very smart to do is know that he can drive his draft status up even more, and he can solidify himself as a first round pick while getting paid huge money. I mean, we now.
But did that work for Beck? No.
Beck's Beck is
backfired
Beck is
for
a
Beck.
Beck. No, Beck's fine. I mean, my gosh, look at where Miami is. Wait, nothing's backfired for him. He's made huge money. He may not be like, his draft status might not be great right now, but he's one game away from freaking playing for a national title. And by the way, if he goes out in this game against Ole Miss and has a great game, he's got this huge platform. So I don't think I've seen it hurt guys in the past. It hurt there was a Missouri quarterback and there was was it Drew Lock? There was somebody back in the day where it did by staying, it hurt. But for the most part, Sorsby's just making a beautiful decision. And Tech's making a fine decision based on what their finances are. Tech, who probably can spend $20 million on this portal. Yeah, you spend $5 million, but you still, they're on top of getting Sorsby, they're getting tons of great D linemen. Last year, they were incredible on defense in the portal. I know you're going to get all snooty now that you're Indiana and you think y'all have done it, y'all do it the right way. But I'm just saying, I think I mean, it's the market, and Sorsby, if Tech didn't pay it, he was going to get it somewhere else.
All right.
And by the way, LSU is going to pay Levitt. Levitt's there today. I don't know, and we'll see how that visit goes. I guarantee you, Levitt's going to get $5 or $6 million. It's unbelievable, but it's the going rate.
Speaking of LSU, they picked up a tight end from Pitt. 2 years left of eligibility while we were on here. Shifting gears, Baylor women's basketball, based on what they did with Iowa State, is now a Final Four lock. What do you think of that?
So this is a different version of Kevin's Confidential. So you throw something out and I say, okay, this is interesting. I have to. No, not anywhere close to that. I love that, though. I like the hyperbole there. You've got Baylor as a possible lock in the Final Four. They did beat. It was a huge win over a team that had not lost before that game, and a team that, like Audie Crooks, had been putting up, I think she's had 4 or 5 games this year of 40 or more points. I would say after just a miserable performance against UT, and then the really tough loss at home to Texas Tech. Was that it? Yeah, that was in Waco. Baylor has responded beautifully. A comeback in that last game when they were down by like 16, and they overcame that against Oklahoma State. And then I would say, to have Talia Scott scored 21 in the second half and to win that Iowa State game, it was a great win for the Bears. What I would like to know, the reason I can't put them up there that high, Kev, is because I just don't know what's become of Bella Fauntleroy. She was a really good player. She's kind of lost her confidence. Her scoring's way down. The thing that was great about that game the other day is Bugs went nuts with the rebounds and had 20 rebounds. Like that'll hunt, because you got Talia, you've got, with Talia, they were able to stay afloat even though she didn't score in the first half. And part of that is because they call her Ting, I think, but her last name is actually pronounced Dunn. She's really stepped up. So Ting Dunn, I really like kind of the way they're coming together. So no, I would say, Kev, not a lock on the Final Four. I would say not even a lock on top 15, but they have taken a situation that was going in the wrong direction and they've shoved it back in the right direction. And that was a great road win in Ames.
All right. SEC football is now exposed as the most overrated athletic conference program. Because this is what we have been saying on our 365 Sports Indiana podcast all season that the Big Ten is better than SEC, and SEC people hate it. But if you take away the head-to-head SEC bowl matchups, they have only won one bowl game, whereas the Big Ten is 9-3. 3-1.
I'm never into this because I'm never into these bowl records because half the time was LSU that into it was a good game and I love that Houston won, but I mean they had a ton of guys that were either turning pro or going in the portal. So I would say I don't believe that these bowl games prove that much because some teams are into them, some teams aren't. I like laughing at the SEC and all of that, and it's fine. But I don't think in the end, I don't think it proves that much. What's a lower level or what's a team that was really good in the SEC that lost a bowl game? Let's talk about for Vandy. Does that totally take away from Vandy's season that they lost a bowl game to whoever? I can't even remember. They lost, I think, 24-17 in that game.
Pavia played though. Like it's not like they took it off like FSU.
I understand. I'm just saying I can give you other reasons that they get too much power and that they're a bit overrated outside of the bowl system. I don't think the bowl, although I do get a kick out of it, and I always like it when the SEC invariably ends up. What did you say the record is now?
Now they're one. I take away the head
2 or 3.
SEC is playing. The only game only bowl game the SEC has won is Texas over Michigan. When Texas had a huge amount to prove, as did Arch Manning, the fact that they didn't make the CFP.
Yeah, I would just say if Ole Miss somehow wins the national title, that trumps a lot of SEC's bowl season. I just don't. I don't get that into how they did in the bowl. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament. Some years we'll go, well, the Big 12 is the best. The Big 12 is the best. Big 12 is the best, and then they don't perform very well in the NCAA tournament. Does that mean there's not a good conference? No. I mean, this year, for instance, I think the Big Ten is so top heavy, and it's just a monster at the top because I think Michigan and Purdue are both scary, and I think Michigan's ranked second in college basketball, men's college basketball right now. I think they're the best, and I think right now I don't know if anybody's close in the Big Ten.
Dusty Mays is amazing.
It's unreal. It's unreal. He's great. He's a great coach. He's the Kurt Signetti.
Yeah.
And
IU just missed him by not firing Woodson a season before they should have. So, last one. Speaking of IU, they picked up a Boston College running back in the portal named Turbo Richard. What are some of the most appropriate nicknames per position that you can remember? Turbo is not his real name, but there you go.
I did love that. I used to love when people would name their kids after products. like there was a great back at Alabama, and he might have ended up with the Cowboys at some point, and his name was Saran Stacy, and it was because Saran wrap, but they spelled it. I think they spelled his name Siran, and he was Saran. I always liked that name. Turbo's a great one. I always think for players, Jet. I like a good Jet out there, and I'm trying to think of.
Isn't there a Bam?
I like
a Bam right now.
There was a famous running back that may have played at Texas Tech named Bam Morris. I think he got himself. He was from Cooper, Texas, out there. Is that West Texas? Anyway, he was from Cooper, I think. Named Bam Morris. There may be a Bam. There's usually a Bam out. There's a Bam in the NBA. That's a good one. I'm trying to think of some over the years. The greatest nicknames, by the way, were like the real old one, like Crazy Legs Hirsch and Dick Night Train Lane. I think they were a little more descriptive and were a little more fun with their nicknames back then. Vinny the Microwave Johnson from Baylor, obviously in the NBA, for the greatest player in the history of Baylor, Mike Singletary, in my opinion. And I know people will say RG3. RG3 was a good, easy nickname. Mike Singletary was Samurai Mike. And then, of course, Iron Mike Ditka. No nickname fit a guy better than that. Ditka, Iron Mike. That was great. That was great. I don't think we're going to have time to do another break, by the way, today. We're going to have to say goodbye at 55 after. It's okay, Kevin. We'll get into today. We got a little early guest. But by the way, we need to thank at the end of our program, Kevin, is when we put the graphic up there for the Brazos Landing. Oh, there it is. Kev's, I mean, he's extremely prepared, even though the man has a lot on his plate and he doesn't visit with anybody in the evenings. I'm trying to think how in the world we're going to make this work, since that's the only time I do communicate is all evening, every evening. But anyway, that's good. I like boundaries. I think in theory they're good. I wish I could set a few of them, especially with my eating habits. I've fasted all day today though. So as long as I don't come out of this with just going crazy, I'll be okay. The Brazos Landing, you see the graphic, you know the restaurant. I can just say as we get ready for this big time game with Iowa State coming into town, we'll have Scott Drew on tomorrow. But the best place to pregame, the best place is to go right over to the Brazos Landing, have a drink, have some food, have some of that unbelievable chicken fried steak or the bang bang shrimp. Love their bang bang shrimp. Kev, if you like a good, like some fried shrimp, but just almost like a coconut type flavor on the bang bang shrimp, and you just sit there and just like, and sometimes with food, there's like a law of diminishing returns. With the bang bang shrimp, it just gets better and better with each bite. And we appreciate the Brazos Landing. Also appreciate Cherry Johnson's Siegmund James, the official law firm of the Mosley Show. There it is. And oh man, what an incredible job they do. Thank you to Schmaltz's, the greatest sandwich shop, obviously. And then Kevin, every Thursday we'll do trivia. We'll do some Schmaltz's trivia. We'll give away some Schmaltz's sandwiches. So you'll help me come up with some good trivia. And so we appreciate Schmaltz's so much. I wanted to make sure no one else got fired while we were on. This is Black Monday in the NFL. And Raiders fired Pete Carroll after one season. The Cardinals have moved on from, and I kind of like this coach, honestly, Jonathan Gannon, after 15-36 over 3 seasons. I think Gannon was on a staff with Sirianni, might have been on Peterson's staff back in the day, and got his head coaching opportunity, and it didn't go so well. 15-36 over 3 seasons. So they were fired, and Browns fired coach Kevin Stefanski. They'll keep their GM, Andrew Berry. So there's some of the firings. We already know about some of the interim positions, like the Giants will be out there looking to hire a new head coach, and we'll see how quickly the Cowboys move at defensive coordinator. Right now, nothing new to report with Matt Eberflus, but as that changes, we'll let you know. Also interesting today, Kev, I thought I'd run this by you. Dolphins quarterback Tua, I just call him Tua, open to a quote fresh start. He told reporters Monday after he was benched for the team's final 3 games of the season. He was benched in favor of Quinn Ewers after the team's loss to the Steelers. His tone shifted during the team's locker room cleanout Monday when asked whether he'd like a fresh start after the events of this season. He said, "That would be dope. I would be good with it." He signed a 4-year, $212 million extension in July of 2024, the richest contract in franchise history. We'll see what they do moving forward. Hit a career high 15 interceptions this season and recorded fewer than 200 passing yards 8 different times. Wow. I mean, this is a team that had put up huge numbers even the season before. And so we'll see what we thought for the whole season that the Dolphins would move on from their coach, but maybe the play of viewers and the way they played down the stretch will change their mind on it. I mean, he's the strangest head coach in the NFL, and he looks like he's just constantly in a state of being depressed. But that is Mike McDaniel for you. Okay, that was the Mosley Show. Kevin, good work, buddy. Appreciate you. I've got all kinds of notes for you. I've made. I've got my red pen out. No, I thought Kevin did a great job. It's fun to have him. It's fun to have huge sports fan, and what a time as the Hoosiers. And by the way, Scotty tried to jump on that bandwagon with the Hoosiers, but Kevin was there even through the lean years, and the man actually does a podcast about Indiana sports and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have a lot to share with you in the coming days. It is the Mosley Show. Happy New Year to everybody. We'll do it again tomorrow. Scott Drew joins the program tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock straight up.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you receive a call from someone claiming to be from a company, don't give them your personal information, ever. Unless you know them personally, hang up and call the company back on a verified number.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
I am obsessed with helping business owners increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. It's this amazing platform where people are looking for ideas, inspiration. They have a problem and they're actively looking for a solution.
It's hard to find supplements that work. No, thank you. Plant-based supplements made from the Earth's most powerful plants for your immune health, gut health, workouts, and more. Find out more at auraorganic.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.